Welcome to part 3. We will be joined by Kent any second. Women love him, men want to be him. He will be clicking on any minute. So, for those of you that haven't subscribed or pressed the notification button, click it. Feel free if you like the channel. For those of you who want to earn an extra few quid in tough times, get in touch, porkycorner@mail.com, and I'll show you how to make a few quid. All right, all you gotta do is pin a few links to your social media, and if you get a bite, you get paid. But get in touch, porkycorner@mail.com, and I'll explain. Okay.
So, yeah, all right, Russell. So just come back. Yeah, he had a great style. Barney Eastwood was very money driven. Barney Eastwood was a bookie. He had lots of bookmakers around Northern Ireland and Belfast. He was a bookmaker, so he was a money man.
Were you involved with IRA or out like that? Out dodgy?
Nothing. No, he was a legitimate businessman.
Did he get shut down by anybody around there? Like, because millionaire bookmaker and all that. You'd have thought that somebody might have been into him.
Listen, he was promoting multiple shows all year round. He had a lot of bookmakers. He had bookmakers shops all over Belfast, all over Northern Ireland. I don't know if he was involved in horse racing or not, but he was very heavily involved in boxing, and he got a gold nugget in McGuigan, who was a national amateur champion. He was Commonwealth gold medalist. He was like a super. Barry McGuigan, when Barry McGuigan turned pro, hysteria with Barry McGuigan was like nothing that boxing had seen in Northern Ireland. We had a lot of great fighters like Rinty Monaghan, John Caldwell. They were post-war, pre-war fighters, really, really world-class world champions. But he was that second coming, and it was a massive opportunity for McGuigan to make a lot of money, but it was also a massive opportunity for Barney Eastwood to break into boxing and make an absolute fortune. 1978, McGuigan won the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton. So then the Commonwealth Games was like winning an Olympic title. That's how big it was, and that was this hysteria. They call it Barry Mania. There's been nothing like Barry Mania, and Clark Frampton had a massive following, but the following that McGuigan had was huge. He had those massive nights in the Keen's Hall. Going back to the days of John Caldwell and Rinty Monaghan, filling the Keen's Hall. It was massive for boxing. It was absolutely. McGuigan was one of the real first crossover boxing stars.
When I was a kid, I remember Barry McGuigan fights on my mum and dad's, and there'd be my granddad there, my dad's dad, me, my great uncle Bill, and we'd all be watching Barry McGuigan on telly. All sat round.
Massive.
Because there were only a few channels then on telly, weren't there? There were 3 or 4 channels. So
I think Channel 4 was late 80s, so there was 3 channels.
No, Channel 4 were Brookside, 1980.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, the first person that beat Barry McGuigan, guess who it was?
Oh.
It was Peter Eubanks. It was Chris Eubanks Sr.'s big brother. So it was. And he beat him in his 3rd fight. And 2 fights later, they obviously avenged that loss with a TKO win. So that was a bit of a slip up, but they invested, he invested, and they brought the right sparring partners over. They weren't just bringing, I always heard stories about McGuigan bringing sparring partners over, and his thing was, I'm paying you, and you need to work me hard every day.
He was a proper gym rat, wasn't he, though, Barry McGuigan?
McGuigan was a beast, absolute. Just, I think he was addicted to training. I
You know,
think he
if
was
he were a fighter now, he'd be like Mayweather, wouldn't he? You know, he was that big, wasn't he, then?
massive, even bigger,
Yeah.
massive. And
20 million
over here,
in his fights. 20 million. I'm swear
yeah,
to God, when he fought Pedrosa, there were nobody on streets where I lived. Everybody spoke about that day, even on football field, you know, with my mates having a kick about. All they spoke about were that fight. You know what I mean?
yeah, playground hysteria, playground excitement, and
Oh my
you,
God.
look, you go and watch. I'll say to anybody listening to this, go and watch the ring entrance of Barry McGuigan versus Bernard Taylor.
Listen,
Go
mate,
and watch it.
I used to go on that school field, you know, on a Saturday morning with my ball and my sticker album. Because I had a sticker album, and you know, all them who had sticker albums, they never filled them, mate. I filled mine. I used to go on there and talk about football and boxing all morning, mate. Take everybody's stickers off them.
It was relevant. I would go as far as to say that Barry McGuigan, I'll probably get stick for this, was probably one
Oh,
of the
did you have a
first.
Panini sticker album as well, like me, Ken?
I used to collect the Premier League albums. So I did.
Did you?
I used to collect WWF cards as well and stickers. So it was every other week. It was
See,
another sticker
when
book.
I did it, Ken, it was Ian Rush and Dalglish and Brian Robson and people like that. I never got it. I was grown out of that Kent by the time Premier League were about. So
You used to go into school and used to have a big wad of
yeah.
stickers.
Listen, mate,
And
I was a sticker baron at school, mate. Ask anybody.
yeah,
I was a sticker baron.
there was always somebody that had, and you would have had to go over and
Mate, I had
say,
boxes of them.
"I'll give you, I'll give you 4 shinies for him plus
What's the shiny,
25p."
Ken?
Shiny would have been the badge, so the club badge would have been like silver.
Oh, yeah.
So on the sticker book you had the club, so you had the club emblem, club badge, then you had the squad, but the club badge was always a shiny, or silver as we called it, and the champion who won the league, their sticker was gold.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. So you would have maybe said, "Here, I'll give you 5 shinies for Alan Shearer or Paul Ince, somebody that was really, really hard to get back then."
Paul in.
I'm just giving you a random name. So yeah, but going back to McGuigan, you look at that, you look at the hysteria, and look at the excitement in the King's Hall for it was actually his first defense after the Pedrosa fight, and thinking about it now, it was actually only 3 months after he won the world title. 3 months after. Like straight on it, straight back in the gym, straight back out and defending his world title.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what do you think to Anthony Yard at the moment? Where's he going to end up, Kent?
I think BT at the minute are in a transition period. They're going through this TNT takeover. They're going to be called something else. I think basically Frank Warren is putting the cheapest guys on. No disrespect. He's putting the cheapest fighters on and keeping them active. Where the dearer guys, maybe there's only one card scheduled the whole summer. And that's Liam Davis and Jason Cunningham. There's nothing else scheduled. There's nothing else that has been scheduled. Suppose that this new takeover is going to come in. They're going to look and see what works and what they're going to put on and what the expenditure is. It's all going to be I think BT is going to go through a transition period. TNT / BT is going to go through a transition period next year, and I think boxing will be on the back burner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Has
And
Roman Fury won tonight?
Ronan is on Sky tomorrow. He's on the Sky card, so he is.
What, tonight?
Is that card on tonight or is it on Saturday night?
Oh, let me just have a look, Kent. Let me just have a look. Have a look. Yeah, he's won tonight on points, so he's 2-0 now.
And that's on the Ben Shalom show, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Your,
good. Actually,
your call, isn't it? Your call.
yeah, you know what? That's good. You know, the lad's just getting on with his career, and he's on he's on a proper network. He's not fighting. He's just getting on with it. He's minding his own business, and I wish him all the best.
Isaac Chamberlain's won on points. Hassan Azim's won by TKO. Roman Fury won on points. Joshua Gustrave won on points. Sam Gilly won by KO.
And
Vito Riley, Caroline Dubois, Aaron McKenna to come, and Big Phrase. It's Big Phrase.
you know that's kind of like a partnership there with McKenzie, and McKenzie's brought a lot of his fighters, and they're actually on Sky now, which it's given his fighters that he built and he signed an opportunity to go on and fight on a network. You know, especially when they lost the Channel 5 deal, which was absolutely really disappointing, because probably at that time the fights that Mick was putting on with Channel 5 were actually better, and if not as good as anything that was on DAZN and Sky at the time. So it's good that his fighters are getting out there and getting an opportunity to fight. It works good for Mick and his fighters.
I want to know how Ben Shalom got that Sky deal on after just doing a couple of small halls. How on earth can they give him that? How has he earned that?
Well, he hasn't. You know, Sky at the time went through a massive, massive transition period, and they
Who
basically
appointed him? Who appointed him?
goodness knows. Well, they brought in
Bean, aren't they saying it were Bean?
they brought in Joe Mishausen, who was formerly with
What, to hold his
Matchroom.
hand?
He was there as a boxing person, as an advisory role. There, he originally left. He originally left Matchroom to go to BT Box Office. When that was BT Box Office had, you know, they thought that they were going to flog EUBANK Junior with down that IPO route, and it didn't work out too well for them. And you know what the EUBANKs are like, that they will do what they want. So that didn't work out, and now they've brought him in as an advisory to work under, you know, with Ben Shalom. Now Matt Hennessey's there involved, so they needed a face. They needed. It wasn't down to his promotional skills. It wasn't down to anything. Sky needed somebody to be the figurehead of their boxing, and it was Ben Shalom. It wasn't there on merit. It wasn't there on promoting, you know, the Golden Tournament or whatever it was, because that format was done. That format was exhausted on Sky with on Matchroom cards with Prize Fighter. So they needed somebody new. They needed somebody fresher. They needed somebody different, and they basically needed anybody. Russell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think to Bricktop's appearance on Talksport, where he put it on them for what they said, and they grovelled to him, didn't they, Simon Jordan and the Gad? Simon Jordan, my hero, what's happened to him?
I think it's like any network. I've actually got the boxing on now. I've actually got Aaron McKenna on. It actually goes back to access. It does. It kind of they kind of pivot. They kind of pivot all the time. They kind of swerve at the minute. They they go with they're kind of going with a lot of the networks. They're going with the narrative, with what people are kind of saying. They, 1 minute Tyson Fury was the GOAT and was the greatest thing in sliced bread. Now they're rinsing him. Now John's getting rinsed. Eddie Hearn was getting rinsed for a while. I think what BT are really, really good at. I'll tell you what they're good at. They're good at their own propaganda, and they're good at staying relevant. Not for the boxing fans, but for themselves. That's what they're good at.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that moving sideways. Right, Beefy Smith, EUBANK, Crusher Ben. What is going on here?
You know what's going to happen, don't you?
Gonna get off with that. Gonna get off with it, isn't he?
You know what's going to happen, don't you? You know. So like, think about it. The whole thing there with Conor Benn, the whole thing with UCAD, I can't see Conor Benn spending all his own money on that. I probably would have think Matchroom would have had some sort of, input in legal fees. That there would have been some sort of support there. They built them up over the last lot of years, and they want money back.
You know what I've noticed, Kent? You know what I've noticed? And a couple of people who were quite, I'm not saying they're geeky because they're good friends of mine, but pointed it out to me. They're far more brainier than me. They showed me a few things. You know, Conor Benn's numbers now, what he does on social media or anything, he's not far off superstardom numbers. On back of what?
I've said this before. He's said
massive
this
now. You know, when he fights again, he'll have to play pantomime villain because they'll be baying for his blood. But they've created a little monster now, and let me tell you this: he's going to cash in him now.
I've said this. He was just always Nigel's boy. Nigel's boy. Nigel's boy.
He'll be shouting it as well. He'll be shouting it about as well. But secretly, they know they've had a ton of PR for 12 months.
Massive. They lost nothing of that. The insurance with Lloyd's of London, they would have claimed all that back in expenses.
No, not on a drug test. I'm not sure if it covers you for that.
Well, I mean the show.
I don't know if they're gonna have problems on that. I'm not sure about that. Unless they've got cover on that, I don't know.
I mean the show and that being cancelled and this and that. They wouldn't have lost much.
Yeah, but it's cancelled because it's drug test, isn't it? Couldn't they get a replacement in?
They have created this whole drug thing. He was always Nigel's boy. Now he's going to be known as this ex-drug cheat, this guy that failed these tests. And it's going to be like, people were going to watch it. People were going to want to watch him. So they are. And the amount of it, as I say, they're going to build this monster heel. Without even doing it, they have built this monster heel off this failed drug test. And what they'll do is they'll bring back faded fighters. He'll rinse them. They'll make a lot of money. The numbers will go through the roof, and then they'll roll the dice. But before they've rolled the dice, they have got their money back.
Would it have been better? Would it have been better if they went guilty from the beginning and said, we don't know how it's gone and it's a mistake, swept it all away and put him up at poster boy to say, look, let's just, be careful what we're putting in our bodies and that, because it's easy to make a mistake. We're only boxers. They could have gone down that route and watered it down a bit, couldn't they? And then come back and it all been all right. Or now they've gone this route, once they've told a lie, they couldn't shut it down. You have to when you tell a lie, a big whopper, you disappear, don't you? Most people, they disappear. Or they shut it down. Like if you did a video, for example, and you told a whopper in it, you'd want that video took down, wouldn't you? That's what you do. You want to shut it down and disappear and then come back. Well, Conor Benn, he couldn't do that because they couldn't let it go, could they? They couldn't come clean. So it's gone that big. They've had to go with it. And he's massive, isn't he, now?
In an ideal world, yes. In an ideal world,
that'd be the best thing to do, wouldn't it? To do that.
In an ideal world.
But they couldn't do that, could they? Because of their egos.
egos, and you look at the people he's got looking after him, they wouldn't have been smart enough to plot this. They wouldn't have been clever enough.
Oh, they've stumbled across all this PR now.
Yes,
Just milked it, haven't they?
yes,
At
they
first,
would
they
not have.
wanted to say, no, we're not having that, flexing the muscles with lawyers. Everybody stood firm, so they've had to now rethink the strategy. And now they've just bigger than ever. They've just milked it to death. They've milked it
So
every day, day in, day out for it's a year, isn't it?
it has exhausted itself,
He had
hasn't it?
14 months, hasn't he?
It has, this story has exhausted itself, okay? But I don't think they actually have the intelligence
They Matchroom have lapped this up. It's a soap opera. They have loved this. Eddie Hearn's rubbing his hands. I've heard back anyway.
Loved it.
Loved it.
They loved it. And it's, I don't think, to be honest, this is not the big master plan. This was not the agenda. This was a mess from the start.
Along with it now, and now they're gonna. It's become that big. The people behind the scenes are saying, "You know what? This kid's gonna be massive here. Let's just see what we can do and all work together." It's not 14 months. They could easily extend that another 4 months to October. Then he's out ring 18 months. They could give him an 18-month ban. Or they could give him a 2-year ban. He'd appeal it and get it dropped to 18. And then everybody's happy and it all goes away and they all earn the coin.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But it's not by choice. It's all been done, it's all been hysteria. It's all been rushed. It's all been panic. But what's actually happened is
they've turned the negative into a positive.
It's worked itself out.
They've all going to have to Eddie and Calla and all that. And Conor Benn's massive now, and he's the name that they're all going to want. Now, why not Spence Crawford loser against Conor Benn?
It all depends how that fight pans out with Spence and Crawford. It all depends, how good the fight actually is. You've got two of probably the best fighters, in the world. They're so good. Will it be really technical? Will it be exciting? What has Spence left after the car accident?
Yeah.
Crawford's been more active. It's a massive. This is a massive fight. So, to be honest with you, I don't think that they actually need to go down that route right now. They do not need to fight the best in the world at the minute to get where they want to be. I think what will happen is, I think it will be Conor Benn, EUBANK next. I think Beefy Smith will be after that. I think maybe Kell Brook will be around that in an 18-month period. And I think after that, they'll probably roll the dice. By that time, there's a good possibility that Spence and Crawford have had a massive payday in that fight. They probably fought twice, and they've either retired or moved up.
You reckon, yeah?
Yeah, that's the roadmap I see. That's how I see it happen. And Conor Benn doesn't need to go at the minute. You know this, the numbers, the hysteria, the hype, the drama. Doesn't need to fight for a world title that they earn money and cash out. It's just about fighting those name brand fighters. He's going to be a heel in those fights. He's going to be a monster heel, and it's going to generate a lot of interest. He's going to be like his dad. His dad was always the monster heel. His dad was the monster heel against Michael Watson. His dad was the monster heel against Chris Eubank Sr. the first time. So that's the way they're gonna build him.
Yeah. What do you think to Sonny Edwards at the moment? Eddie's saying he's best pound for pound fighter in the UK.
No, listen, to be honest with you, Sonny's problem is that he's just too good. And at the weekend, he went into that fight. He knew he was going to win it. He knew skill-wise, he was levels above. And he just coasted his way through it. And Tony Bellew had it very even at one stage. I don't know what scorecard he had, because I give Sonny Edwards at least 8 rounds. He's really slick, but I think against the likes of Bam Rodriguez, he knows he can't switch off in that fight. I think it's that easy for him at that level at the minute. I think he knows he can switch off, and I know he can get away with fighting at a certain pace. I think he knows now it's just time that he gets that really big fight to bring the best in him, because I think everything's just too easy for Sonny's that good. I think everything's too easy for him, and I think it means he knows he can take time to switch off in fights. I think it's time that the Martinez or the Bam Rodriguez fight has to be next one. Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. He's get that level in his career where he has to have that big fight.
What about Ebony Bridges leaving Mark Tibbs to go to Penfold?
Would it surprise you?
No, I don't think he is bothered anyway. But no surprises me. But I mean, who's Penfold got now? He's got Muhammad Ali, Opie Price, Jordan Gill, and Ebony.
It's be different if you were talking about somebody that had really, really good boxing credibility, was a really good boxing person. These people aren't proper boxing people. They're just in, she's in that misfit boxer, in my opinion. And I think they're just in the rinse of sport. And you have to expect that from them. You really have to expect that.
Ken, what did you think to that scrubber for Ellie Scottney getting on scales in nude with painted on bra? What do you think to that wench? Did you see her?
I think it just takes away from Ellie Scottney. It just takes away her performance. We're talking about her and on that scale where we should actually be saying, you know what, it's a really good performance from Ellie Scottney. She's worked her way up. She's won a European title. She's won a world title. She's a great fighter, really, really good for female boxing. But we're talking about that. That just says it all to me. Like,
could you imagine?
Really disappointing.
Could you imagine, Ken, having a viewer like that if you're in jail? Could you imagine her going out on town if you're just going to do that at a normal weigh-in? What would she be like with a few beers down her?
It's just disappointing. It's the sport. You want the sport. They're trying to build a sport. They're trying to develop the sport, and it's just disappointing, to be honest with you, Russell.
Scrubber. That's what she was, scrubber, mate.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing. What do you think to Flex? With all these price lists for all these fitness classes at his gym and that, he's proper going for it, isn't he, Flex?
He's cashing out, isn't he? Really, he's just cashing out now. I don't think he can be bothered with boxing, and I think he's just went ultra commercial now. Really, hasn't he?
They've had millions out of boxing, them Ingles. But what I want to know is when they're going to put some shows on, put their hand in the pocket, give them back to community. When they're going to do that, they might complaining about fighters pay and this and that. Put some shows on. Keep taking all the time. Give some it back. That's all I've got to say on that, Mate. What do you think to Anthony Fowler retiring?
I think he's earned the right to do that. I think he's made enough money. He's had a long amateur career.
Do you feel like he rubbed public up wrong way to start with?
I think the whole hype around him was he was going to be the next Froch. He was an aged fighter when he turned pro. He turned pro very late. It was going to be very hard for him. I thought he had a real chance against Beefy Smith. You look at that fight, and I don't think I've ever seen Beefy Smith get hit as much early on.
Yeah, tough him, didn't he, Beefy?
Yeah, it was just pure experience, and you could see that
seasoned, didn't it? As Terry says, seasoned.
He threw too many shots, too many hard shots, at one period of time, and you could just see within the complete oxygen debt, and it kind of backfired on him in the fight where Beefy just had that no-high just to tuck up and stay safe, then just start piling on the pressure and start breaking him down. I think he knew he was breaking himself down with all that volume, but he's made a lot of money out of boxing, and he's made the right move. If a fighter wants to retire and they're thinking about it, you do it.
Big shout out to I Feel Boxing on Spotify, Terry Chappendama. Big shout out to Rico and Jess, Rico's little honey in Italian mountains at some fancy villa.
Look, lucky him.
Living it large. That's what
lucky him.
That's what happens if you go to school, kids. I'm telling you.
Lucky him. That sounds good.
We'll have to get Rico back on when he's stopped living the high life. You know what I mean?
Where's he been? When's the last time Rico's been on?
Jet setter now, isn't it, Rico? Transatlantic deal maker. So
yeah, it's time you get back on and got that Bosman. You have to sign him on the you're gonna have to get Rico on a fight by, not one of those fight by fight deals. You're gonna need to get him on a contract with upside. So he's on an ultra tack. You're gonna have to tie him into one of them Don King contracts from the 80s and 90s. Keep him on the channel.
Or a Steffi Bolt contract.
Or a ticket deal. Get him on a ticket deal.
On a Dennis ticket deal. We'll finish off on the Cobra then. Hall of Fame.
Listen, we spoke about there. You said to me, does Anthony Joshua deserve the Hall of Fame? No. Does Tony Bellew deserve Hall of Fame? No. Does Clark Fratch deserve Hall of Fame? Yeah, absolutely. He won multiple world titles and he done it on other people's backyards. Why not? Absolutely, why not? You take out the George Groves fights, he still gets in the Hall of Fame because of what he did on the road in the proper way.
Took Groves though, Boute's though, Pascal's, Dirrell's. You know what I mean? He fought Andre Ward when he was undefeated, and he still ended up undefeated. The guy's a legend, isn't he? Legend. Done Robin Reed, Brian McGee. You know what I mean? We're world champions as well, so.
You can't argue with it, Russell.
Glenn Johnson.
Yeah. Even if you were an anti-Fratch fan, he still can't argue with it. So you can't. He's done it all.
Don Kessler fought him in Denmark.
Yeah, he came back and avenged that loss. To be honest with you, you can't argue with that resume.
He got game plan wrong against Ward after 7 rounds. He just game plan went out window. He went back to being Fratch, didn't he? But it was too late, wasn't it? But he finished.
I think the problem with that fight against the Thinker, he was thinking too much against the Thinker, and he was just thinking too much in that fight. Whereas you say, just go back to being yourself and try and be just offensive, and just instead of thinking, just act on it. Just act rather than think too much.
Didn't fancy Boots, did he, after the Super 6?
Nah, Ward. I'm not he's a great champion. He's a Hall of Famer in my opinion, but I'm not a massive Andre Ward fan, to be honest with you.
No, I'm not.
Great way of winning. He can win fights. He's a great style for winning fights, but not a great spectator style. But you talk about fundamentals, you talk about technique. He's absolutely amazing. But there's a lot of other fighters at the time. I was watching more than him.
You know why I give Fratch respect? He done it hard way. He hadn't got one trinket belt. He went English title Alan Page, he was undefeated. British, won it outright, had all them Commonwealth defences, learnt his craft. Sanavea for European wouldn't fight him. So we went the Calzaghe route, didn't they? For mandatory.
Yeah.
He didn't fight him, so he left it to last day to cancel. So he fought Pascal, who was next in line, Olympian. Pascal went on to do Dawson and Diacono. He took their zeros and ended up with ring belt, didn't he?
And the great thing, was on terrestrial
for a world
TV
champion
as well.
years later, Pascal, only 14 years later, still a world champion.
Yeah, you know, it was on those fights. Then were actually on terrestrial
Jermaine
television as
Taylor.
well.
Jermaine Taylor, he was still a world
Yeah,
champion 6 years after Carl beat him.
yeah, yeah. That was
You know what I mean?
a massive win, massive win. You know, last round, he was losing that fight, and he come back and put him in the orbit. And that's amazing. That's an amazing. That's a film in itself. That fight, really, isn't it? It was
Listen,
so dramatic.
He's got the millions, he's got the chick, he's got the family, he's set up for life. He's clocked the game on and he did it his way, didn't he? So you have to tip your hat. It's a success story, isn't it? And you know, when you tip somebody from amateurs to go away, I buzz off it.
He didn't run about chasing trainers and changing camps and doing this and doing that.
He's a roadman killer, Ken. He's a roadman.
Yeah. He did it the traditional way in the ring and outside of the ring as well.
He's one of them guys,
loyal.
watching he walks in pub and everybody puts their head down because they know if you clock him, it's on top for you. You know what I mean? He's got that reputation on his Cobra. Can you imagine Eddie Hills? Eddie Hills would love to be that man, wouldn't he? You know, he's fake.
I could say it would be hard work. I think he would be his own man, to be honest with you, Russell.
Eddie Hills would love to be the Cobra. He would love to be that man. He would, Ken. Honestly, what do you reckon?
Well, Matchroom was built off, you know, he was there.
Matchroom. We brought pay-per-view back.
Yeah, especially after
it was dead and buried. Eddie buried it with Audley.
David Hay killed it with Audley.
And Audley Harrison, they killed it.
Yeah.
The Cobra rescued it.
Yeah. It was he built Matchroom. He was their first name brand fighter.
Yeah, and he got Joshua to sign with Eddie Hills as well.
Yeah. That was all behind it. You know, all that was the start of Matchroom. Yeah. You know, Clark Frampton was there as well. Clark Frampton was a massive crossover star as well. You know, even early on in his career, and he was a part of it as well, massive part of it.
Yeah, he was, mate. He was. Okay then, Kent. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure. Have a great weekend. And we'll get these out when I get some thumbnails off my man up in Aberdeen. All right, my friend.
Super, Russell. Take care.
Take care, mate. Cheers, pal.
All the best.
Bye. Well, that were Kent from Belfast. It's in Northern Ireland, for those of you who didn't go to school and do your geography. And that's about it. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing the video amongst your pals on your WhatsApp. I've just been looking. A lot of people are sharing the videos. That's great. Now, like I said before, and I'll say it again, if you're interested in earning a few quid in tough times, get in touch. PorkyCorner@mail.com and somebody will be in touch with you if you've got social media accounts and explain how it works. All right? Peace out. Have a great weekend. Booyaka! Pop, pop, bang!